Hi, my name is Adam.
Hi, I'm Alyshah, and
And
this is the Sibling
Sibling
Connection.
Connection.
We absolutely adore movies and we review them all the time together, so we're here to share that passion. And today we'll start with the Haunted Mansion.
By Disney.
So quick synopsis of the movie. Um,
It involves a professor, a psychic, a priest, an astrophysicist, and a mom and a son.
it's a lot of
Basically,
characters.
there's a haunted mansion that this mom, Gabby, and her son, Travis, move into. They don't know it's a haunted mansion, but it's pretty obvious, when they drive up to it, it's decrepit, it's old, it's very obviously a haunted mansion.
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't stay there.
it's pretty surprising that they chose to move into that. And
Yeah.
the first thing that came to my mind is, first of all, how do you buy a place like that?
Yeah,
And
without seeing it, because they do say, like,
yeah,
I don't think that they actually went to it before they bought it. They drove up and they were like, "This is our home."
and second of all, why would you choose to move into a place like that
Yeah.
in the first place? But yeah, it was an interesting movie, like I definitely thought there were some instances where, it was good. And then we get to the last 20 minutes where unfortunately it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess we can dive into a little bit more in the details a little bit later.
Yeah. I mean, I
But
think I think the first thing I have to say is it's a Disney movie, so you knew it was going to be a family friendly, a little bit of a chuckle, not too scary. I think there was one part where I jumped and I almost hit you in the face. But other than that, it was a good family friendly film to watch with your friends and your kids and your families. I would say that the acting was good. Like I enjoyed it.
mhm,
Owen Wilson is in it. Danny
mhm.
DeVito's in it. It was a good film. The main character, his name is Ben. He's the astrophysicist slash ghost tour guide lover. I don't even know, like
He wore many
enthusiast.
hats.
Yes, and he was very convincing in his role. So I think
Mhm.
that is the first thing is that you were very engrossed in the film for sure.
Yeah, definitely one thing I notice is that whenever Owen Wilson comes on screen, he steals the show.
Yeah,
Like that guy can do no wrong, really. Like
yeah,
he's just amazing. Like in this movie in particular, his comedy was on point.
yep, absolutely.
His acting was really good.
Hmm.
Whenever he's on screen, it's always a good time. Lots of chuckles.
Lots of chuckles.
So
Yep.
yeah.
I would say that the plot, um, I don't know. I think it was good. It was convincing for a Disney movie, but that's what you have to remember is that it's a Disney movie. You're not gonna have these really complicated um, plots. You're gonna have something very you can see where it's going.
Hmm, hmm,
Very transparent.
hmm.
So you kind of need to know that going into it is that you're not going to be taken for an insane ride. It's going to be a fun time, but that's about it. That's
Hmm.
what I would say about the plot. It was you predictable.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. Predictable in a sense where you know where it's going, right? Like it's a Disney movie, family friendly. In the end, they're going to come to a resolution that is happy for most people involved, and
Hmm.
I think that was the case in this case. So it definitely, hit all the normal Disney boxes. So yeah, it was a good time, as I said, until the ending, which I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll get into a little bit more. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, definitely something I'd recommend. Maybe not to see in the movie theater.
No, I wouldn't have spent
Um,
my money on that.
yeah, maybe when it comes out on streaming, I'd definitely give it a try. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I do have to say that I'm surprised that they didn't release it over like Halloween period. Like I thought that that was a pretty missed opportunity for Disney. As you may know, Haunted Mansion is an esteemed ride at Disney World and California Disney Adventure, Disneyland. It's has a cult following. It's super super followed. Um, very loved by some really hardcore Disney people. And the plot is basically around from this movie. They took it from the ride. So again, haunted mansion, ghosts, learning about yourself through the process, learning about what is inside and what you really love. Again, a Disney kind of plot for sure. But I thought it was a really missed opportunity that they didn't put it over Halloween. And I think Halloween is such a fun time for children that it would have attracted so many children to the movie too, and perhaps even um, thought about going to Disney to see the ride as well.
I definitely think it's a missed opportunity, but I think we'd have to look into sort of like the background. Maybe
Yeah.
it was a troubled sort of like production.
Yeah.
Maybe they just wanted to get it out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought that releasing it in October would cannibalize some of their other properties coming out during that time.
Perhaps.
Maybe they thought, because October usually they have all these Oscar nominated movies coming out during the fall time, so maybe they wanted to separate it from that a little bit more. Maybe there were other Halloween movies, themed movies that they thought it wouldn't mesh with. So, there's lots of different things to keep in consideration. But yeah, I definitely think it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
We definitely have to look into the box office and see like how it did.
Right.
I don't think it did particularly well, but
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that was just a marketing thing as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a missed opportunity, but I don't know if it would have helped the movie make any more than it already did.
No, I think that's
So
fair. Actually, I think you looked up the Rotten Tomatoes IMDb score, and do you remember what it was?
it was in the 30%.
Mm-hmm.
For us, I believe that's a little bit low.
Yeah.
I think we would rate it a little bit higher,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's, in my opinion at least, it was an enjoyable movie. Like I wasn't going into it expecting anything profound,
Right.
right? Like I was going into it expecting to have a good time,
Yep.
just to have a few laughs, and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for the most part, that's exactly what we did.
Okay.
Um, and then, as you keep saying, the last 20 minutes sort
So
of
let's talk about the
ruined that
last
for
20
us. But
minutes. Let's do something a little more generic so it doesn't ruin it for anybody who wants to go
yeah,
see it. So in just a few words, in a very generic, why was it disappointing for
so
you?
I'd say that the visual effects, generally for the most part in the movie, were really good, or at least believable. In
Mm-hmm.
in terms of monsters and ghosts
Ghosts.
and how unbelievable that can be, but I would say it was generally believable. The last 20 minutes, it was all over the place. I'd
Yeah.
say inconsistent compared to the rest of the movie. There were sequences such as I'm not going to go into spoilers, but they go into like a ghost world, and I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
The visual effects are nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the last 20 minutes happens, and all that just goes out the window.
Yeah.
Um, I think characterization also went out the window a little bit too. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know you and I also agreed that there were a couple characters moments that happened back to back, and they completely are opposite of each
Yeah.
other.
Contradicted.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
completely contradicted each other, and
Yeah.
I thought that was disappointing,
Yeah.
yeah, to say the least. And I have a thing with kid actors in movies.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I feel like they detract from the movie,
Okay.
just because they're kids and
They don't really
generally
give them, I find that a lot of them don't give meaningful roles to the children. Like they don't
exactly and
contribute to the storyline other than
exactly.
just showing a moment of adult sympathy in one of the scenes.
Yeah, there's adult sympathy, there's, learning about your inner child and all that. And I think that's good character growth, especially, like for movies like this
Mm-hmm.
for Disney. But
Yep.
also at the same time, you have kid actors and, you don't have people trained in acting, right? So what sometimes comes across, and, it's not always the case. Sometimes, you have kid actors that are actually really good.
Right.
And I think we've experienced a couple of those during
Mm-hmm.
our years.
Yeah.
But in this case, I don't believe that was the case.
Right.
I think this kid, just for me personally, came across pretty annoying at
Oh,
times.
okay.
Um, and just I don't think they gave him enough to do to
Yeah.
warrant him being included in the movie.
See, that's where I would agree. I don't
Yeah,
think I found him annoying per se, but I found his presence to be like a waste of character. Like I feel like you could have added more to the other characters and made them a lot stronger. Whereas with the kid, I thought he was a pretty good actor. I thought he delivered his role well, though his role didn't really deliver anything of substance. And that's
Mhm.
where I get annoyed with like movies in general, not just Disney, is like don't make someone annoying just for the sake of being annoying. Like, or don't just put someone there because you needed somebody there. Like, put something of substance for him. And honestly, I think only like the last 20 minutes we understood his backstory. Um,
Mhm.
but it just wasn't enough to compensate for the other 2 hours that we were looking at him and saying, well, what else are you doing here other than just being on screen?
Yep.
And that's not any of his fault of his own. Like that was the writers who
Mhm.
didn't put time and effort into that character,
Mhm.
and that's unfortunate.
Yep.
And I expect more from Disney. Disney is a very they're very experienced at this point, and that was a disappointing experience when we were looking at those characters, but also the storyline took a turn as well. Like you
Yeah.
said, there were a lot of contradicting moments. The visual effects took a dive, and it was an hour and a half of buildup, and then it was just disappointment, and that just really ruined the experience for me. It just
Mhm.
didn't make sense to have sat through that entire thing and just went, oh, okay, that's the end.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so what would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5?
I would give it, I'd say a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
I would have given it higher, but for all the things we discussed, like
Yeah.
those last 20 minutes, we had so many issues with
Right.
those last 20 minutes, and I feel it was extremely unfortunate because I was actually having a pretty good time. And I was laughing, I was, enjoying, there were a few moments where I actually got scared.
Yeah.
So I think it did its job, like as a Disney horror movie, you aren't really expecting anything profound in
Right.
terms of scares, but there were a couple that got me, even though they're telegraphed, like they're coming, they still get you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it did its job right.
Hmm.
Definitely a family friendly movie. And it's hard to do that sometimes with horror movies.
Yes. Agreed.
So I think it did a good job with that. It's just the execution of the finale, like man, you could have done that so much better, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just really disappointed in that. So yeah, 3 out of 5 for me. I think that's being generous, especially given like the Rotten Tomato score.
Yeah.
Like I can definitely see where they're coming from with that. But just because I had a good time for the majority of that movie, I'd give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay. I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 for everything that you said. I have a soft spot for Disney. For anybody that knows me, both of us are huge Disney people. Um, but Disney let me down this time. I think I could have expected a little bit more, just even from the climax. I think the storyline was a little bit weak. You kind of have faith in it because, again, you know how well Disney does its movies. It was a good time. It was a fun time. We laughed. We got scared. I almost punched you in the face. That's always a fun time.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, 3.5, I think, is the highest I would go. I wouldn't recommend watching it in theaters at all. I don't think it's worth the money. If you have a Disney Plus subscription, I think if you're in a kind of a nice cozy mood, as Halloween's coming up, I would definitely say it's worth watching once. If you have some friends that you want to watch it with, or your family, or your young ones, I think that's definitely worth it. But other than
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, and I believe I saw that it's coming on Disney Plus in mid-October. So
fantastic.
definitely
Lines
in
up with,
time for
yeah,
Halloween.
Halloween,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so I know we were
With
talking
your
about that
Halloween
earlier.
candy after trick or treating.
Yeah, so definitely I would give it a watch. I wouldn't heavily recommend it. I would just say if you are in the spirit of just having some fun and some mild scares, and like we're in the coming towards Halloween right now,
Hmm.
so I'd definitely say if you're in the mood for it, give it a try.
Yeah.
If you're on Disney Plus, it will be available. um but yeah, it was a good
A
time.
good time.
Probably wouldn't watch it again though.
But if you really loved this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment below if there's any other videos that you would like for us to, or any other movies that you want us to review. And we'll definitely get to them. We're going to jump into spoilers now and do our spoiler review. So if you do not want to watch spoilers, we will see you in the next episode. All right. So, okay. Here's the fun part because there were definitely some moments where I laughed. I
Mhm.
actually enjoyed what was going on. There's a psychic that they recruit, and the jokes that she makes is really funny. So, for example, like she's trying to convince them that she's really good at her job, and she looks at a dining table. She goes, "I can sense that people eat here," and I'm like, "Is that me? Would that be me if I was watching this? If I had to be one of the people?"
Oh man, that was a good one. Like obviously people ate there because the table was completely set up for people to eat there, and
What else would you do at a
you
dining
know
table?
like
Like,
I was I think they did a good job with that character because
yeah, she was good.
yeah,
I
but
can't
also
remember the actress's name, but I've seen her before.
I think it was Tiffany Haddish.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like just when they introduced her, we weren't sure if she was real or fake.
Yes.
And
She
you know
surprised me.
that first interaction was like I can tell people eat here.
Yeah.
I thought that they were going towards that she wasn't legitimate.
Very, yeah.
But
Fake.
then she proved to
She did.
be extremely competent
Yeah.
at her job.
And she was very integral to the resolution of the story.
Hmm.
Um, but here's my thing. Like, as I'm not a mother. I'm not planning on having kids for a while, but when I see a child, my first instinct is not to put them into a haunted house. So they walk in and the lights don't work.
Hmm.
And she goes, "Oh well, this is still our home. Like let's still unpack and stuff." And I'm thinking, like this is such a typical start to a movie, and like I know sometimes you're not supposed to be as critical of the storyline when you're watching movies like this, but I'm kind of like, "Oh, come on." Like,
Honestly,
and the
like
kid's telling her that it's haunted and she's like, "Nah, nah,
yeah.
nah, you dumb. You a kid." Like, "Nah, nah, nah."
And then 2 seconds later, she's like, "Yeah, let's get out of here." Like I was like, "Oh, come on!" Like, but honestly, what makes you? I don't even think they discussed why they moved out here.
Yeah, I think like so part of the backstory that we were talking about with the kid is that we find out that his father dies.
Right.
Right. So I think it was like she just said, "Oh, with everything that happened with his father." So I assume that's why they wanted to move was to get away from everything.
Yeah.
But again, like why move into this home? Why like
And she was explaining that she was like in nursing or something. Like
she was a doctor.
she was a doctor.
Yeah.
So if you're a doctor, why wouldn't you move into something like nicer than a haunted mansion?
Yeah, it was
Or
very
like,
odd. And then she was like, "But I also want to open a bed and breakfast." And I'm like, "But no one, I wouldn't go to a bed and breakfast in a haunted house. Maybe some of you would. Please comment below if you would, because
but
I want to understand why."
also before you buy a place and move into it, wouldn't you look into the previous owners
Well,
or
wouldn't you
like,
even just visit it or FaceTime the owner of the property? Like she literally was just
yeah,
like, "I just bought this place off Zillow." Like that was, and it's just like, you have a kid.
yeah, I
What?
think responsible parenting 101 right there.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, that definitely started. That was the beginning of the movie. So I think
I
yeah,
had definitely had some questions.
yeah.
But even Ben, so he's an astrophysicist, he marries a woman named
Melissa,
Melissa,
Melissa.
and they show snippets of their love life, and then they cut to it and they don't show her anymore. And it's only like halfway or even three quarters through the movie that we find out she's dead. And I'm like, what happened?
I think
So
yeah,
I think there were a few times where they missed the mark. They didn't connect the dots for
yeah,
the audience. And maybe it's because we were being a little bit more critical than we would be if we were just having a good time in a theater. But I would be really disappointed if we spent money on it.
yeah. Like I can't understand. Like okay, so we're watching a movie. You're trying to present characters to us and make us relate, and then you're confusing us at every turn,
Yeah.
right? Like with Ben, he's introduced, like
Very
very
smart,
smart,
competent, yeah.
competent, like dressed nicely,
Driven,
driven. Like he meets Melissa, they're so happy together. And the next time you see him, he's like
depressed.
depressed, like he's
Yeah.
Like he just
Drunk, like he's
yeah
just a slob, like
yeah
no context whatsoever. And they
yeah
keep that up for a while without us understanding why.
yeah, and like they started off with you thinking Melissa is going to be a main character.
Yes.
Like I remember thinking, okay, so I'm taking notes of the characters, writing down Melissa is going to be somebody to keep an eye on, and
Yeah.
you only see her like once or twice more throughout the rest of the
Yeah, maybe
movie.
once, yeah.
So like there's definitely instances where you start to think like maybe the movie would have benefited from having less characters,
Mm-hmm.
more time spent on the main characters,
Yeah.
more time to develop them.
Yeah.
And the movie wasn't long, but you start to think maybe it would have benefited from cutting down its runtime.
It's
Because
true. Yeah, like I
yeah,
actually agree with that. It's not just the okay, well, there's the priest, the psychic, the professor, Ben, mom, the child, and then there's the main ghosts, the two Leota
mhm.
and the bad person,
Yeah,
and then there's the owner of the home.
yeah,
And then like there's so many people that you meet throughout the way and you go, "Oh, this is going to be an interesting one," and then you just never see it again. Or someone gets introduced very casually and then all of a sudden they're the main character or one of the main
mhm.
characters. But I don't know, like I don't know, like also so Owen Wilson, he's introduced as a professor. We later find out
Priest.
sorry, priest. We later found out that he's not actually a priest and he just bought his costume from the Halloween store. And I'm like, okay.
Oh,
But
that was
again, like he explains that he does it for money. He does exorcisms and he wants money from it. We never actually see that side of him at all. So again, half of his character is still missing.
yeah. I
Then we
think
talk to Danny DeVito,
yeah.
and Danny DeVito is like this competent professor, but he has a heart problem. It's a very chaotic, very chaotic movie.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's a fun time, like we said.
It is a fun time. I know we're picking it apart, but yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah, I still want to talk about the ending. Let's talk about the ending and
Oh,
spoil it because
yeah.
if you, I know we're about 22 minutes, so we're going to wrap it up soon, but um this kid, okay, basically we find out that the ghosts they prey on vulnerability. So we think that Ben is going to be the one that is vulnerable because his wife died, he's very emotional. We later find out that the kid's father died and he's the one that the ghosts are going to prey on.
Okay, so hold on. We don't find out that the kid's dad is dead until like 10 minutes before the end of the movie.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
So the whole time we're
Yeah.
thinking the kid's dad is back where they came
Yes,
from,
yes.
right? So we don't know. The kid does. I don't know. Does
I
the kid
I
know?
think the kid know. Okay, that's another thing. We actually don't know if the kid knows because it's very vague.
Yeah,
Because
cuz
he's like, I'm talking to my dad, but then he's
yeah.
also like, I want to be with my dad, which makes me think he's dead. I don't
Yeah,
know.
like it was very
Very weird.
confusing. Like I didn't know if the kid knew his dad was dead or not, but he was talking to a ghost of his dad and he was calm about it.
Yeah,
So like I assume he knows his
I
dad is
think so.
dead. So I guess everybody except the audience knew that the dad was dead. Which is kind of confusing because we should know. But yeah, that was interesting. And yeah, and then it only got weirder from there.
Yeah, and then so he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna sacrifice myself because I want to be with my dad. And then Ben comes to save him and is like, no, no, you can't. Like, we're gonna get through this together. And then Ben turns around and is like, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice myself if you leave them alone. And it's like, so the ghost is gonna like go after and haunt every single other person on the planet. You're willing to sacrifice yourself for somebody that you literally met like 2 days ago
So it
and do
was
the same thing you told the child that he was insane to do. It just to me it was like, oh come on,
it
guys.
was the weirdest thing because we just went from a scene of Ben telling the kid, "Don't do it.
Mm.
You have so much to live for."
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's the Hatbox Ghost.
Yeah, Hatbox
Yeah,
Ghost. That was
the
his name.
Hatbox Ghost is the main bad, by the way. The main bad ghost. And so he needs to accumulate 1,000 souls.
And he's at
He's at
999.
999. So he needs one more, and the last one needs to be willing. So he's trying to get Ben to willingly die, and he's telling Ben that if Ben willingly dies, the ghost will no longer kill anybody else and just go free and do his own ghostly things. And so not so Ben knows this ghost killed 9,999.
999.
Sorry, 900. Same thing, man. It's a ridiculous number, like 999 people, and he's not going to do that anymore.
Oh no, but it's like, okay, you've sacrificed, you've killed, you've trapped 999 souls, but that's fine. I'm not gonna try to fight you. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
try to like trap you. I'm just gonna sacrifice myself because I'm just lazy.
Yeah, so what the Hatbox Ghost is like, okay, so if you sacrifice yourself, I'll take you to your dead wife. And so Ben doesn't know if he can actually trust the Hatbox Ghost.
Yeah,
Ben doesn't know if he sacrifices himself, the Hatbox Ghost will just do nothing as he promised,
yeah,
and yet he's willingly considering doing it
yeah.
until the rest of the guys sort of
Yeah, and then
like,
they're like, "Oh no, we're gonna fight him," and then he's like, "Oh, okay, cool." That's like, wait, what? Why wasn't that an option before you were? And remember, these two scenes of the child preparing to sacrifice himself and Ben preparing to sacrifice himself are literally back-to-back scenes.
yeah,
So the audience, or at least we, were very much like, "Well, this is very weak." There is no time for Ben to have developed anything else that would have changed his mind. But
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, I know that we're at 26 minutes. I'm sorry if this was too long of an episode, but we're very passionate, as you can see. Um, I don't know. I think, like I said, I'd give it a 3.5, but that's as high as I would go. And I probably wouldn't watch it again, but I'm glad that I watched it once. It was a fun film, but that's about it.
yeah. I'd say give it a try if you see it on Disney Plus. Other than that, yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend Haunted Mansion. Unfortunately, I was kind of looking forward to it, to be honest.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was kind of disappointing.
I think so too.
Um,
But
so
thank
yeah.
you for tuning in to episode 1 of the Sibling Connection. We're so excited to finally have started this YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and if you have any other movies that you want us to review, please drop them in the comments below. And we'll see you for episode 2 soon.